Hello, this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in internet shitlords, and today I am doing a review of Wretched Folklore. So, you might have watched on my live streams the RPG Pundit Encounter, and if you haven't, you really should. You should watch my live streams. But the RPG Pundit Encounter recent episode had as my guest Lord Mateus. That is Matthew Thomas, who's the creator of this book, Wretched Folklore. Okay, so he talks about it in his own words in the interview I gave him on the RPG Pundit Encounter. And if you want to, you should go check that out. Hey, oh, wow, what's going on? She just came in real super fast, and now she wants snuggles. What's going... Hey, ow! Oh, look at this terrible violence! Why? Ow! Hey! What's with the violence? What did I do to you, cat? Holy shit, this entire video is being disrupted by a very aggressive kitty cat. Very aggressive. Look at this terrible violence. I am just being attacked for no reason here because she wants to play. Hey, I thought you were outside, having fun outside. I didn't... What are you doing? What are you doing, you maniac? I'm recording a video. Jeez, there's no respect. These kids these days have no respect. Oh my god. What? Ow! She bit me again. Little monster. You calm the fuck down, alright? Jesus Christ. That was terrible. Just brutal assault from Domino. I don't know why. She was outside, just that she's really happy because now she gets to go outside all the time. I'm guessing something got her frustrated and she blames me for it. It's something outside. I don't know what it is. I know there was one of my neighbors has kids and there were some kids out there, but they're little kids, right? Like, I mean, they're not going to, I don't think they did anything. Anyway, you can never know. Domino, as you know, is a feral child. She was rescued from the streets, and once in a while, she just goes nuts. All right. Sorry for the interruption. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. You can check out that interview with Lord Mateus for his perspective on his own book. But, of course, I'm doing a review of it. It is Wretched Folklore is a source book for the Wretched verse in general, and I guess more specifically for Wretched West, right? For the Wretched Country, I think it's called, the Wild West supplement for the Wretched system. The Wretched verse, if you don't know about it, check out my other videos on different Red Room products, and you will see it's basically an expanded universe of OSR products that you can get into from the Red Room store, which I strongly recommend you go check out. The Red Room store has all the, incredible RPGs written by the Red Room, RPGs written for the Red Room by other people like Lord Mateus does, a variety of other interesting RPGs and other products, including my own Pundit Files, which the latest issue of the Pundit Files, on a kind of Silk Road vibe, is an Asian bestiary. I forget what I called it exactly. Monsters of the Distant East, I think I called it, which has 11 new OSR monsters based on Chinese mythology and folklore, right? So they're ideal for something like Sword and Caravan, but they could be ideal for pretty much any setting if you want creatures that are really unusual and that are definitely not the kind of thing you see in a normal monster manual. So be sure to check that out. And as always, it's only $3.50. Okay. So getting on to Wretched Folklore, as you can see, it's a smallish book, but then again, not most. I don't know if most, but many Wretched books are in this kind of size format, so it's suitable. It's the similar format to, the Old School Companion 3 here, though, as you can see, it's considerably smaller. This clocks in at, I think, 94 pages. And it is a source book, right? It's not its own setting. It is mainly intended, I think, for Wretched Country. And in the foreword, it's praise about the Red Room and how Matt was saying that he wants to increase the authenticity of the section in Wretched Country on, like, the folklore and mystery and kind of the supernatural parts of the Wild West, which is good. But it starts with Chapter 1, New Rules. weather rules, so a random weather generator. I would say it's pretty good. I mean, it's something that is viable for, you modify it by season. And so you can have a variety of temperatures depending on where you are, right? I think you'll have to tweak it sometimes, but otherwise good. Prairie Madness, this is really good. So, one of the features of the American West in the 19th century was how terribly empty it was, right? And how isolated it was. And in the live stream, Lord Mateos was talking about this. He was saying that he really wanted to include, the kind of psychological strain of being in this enormous prairie. There's literally nothing around except endless grass, right? And wind. And what that does as a toll to your psyche, right? So it's a good insanity rule. And I can, as someone who grew up in prairies, I can see that, yeah. Then there's some new equipment here. The DG, the Chinese bamboo flute. Sacred medicines, including tobacco, that's very good. To obtain these used in shamanistic rituals, they must be found or cultivated by a shaman or the RPG pundit. It doesn't actually say that, but holy water, the sanctified cross, peace pipes, silver bullets. There were silver bullets in the West, for sure. Tarot decks. Okay. This is an interesting detail. Is that obviously in a few movies and TV, you see people using tarot decks in the West. Most famously, I guess, maybe in Tombstone. However, if we're talking about prior to 1900, I believe I don't think there was a single printing house in the United States which actually printed tarot decks. There were a couple of publishers who printed one that I think did the Lenormand fortune-telling cards, and another one that did a set of something that they called Gypsy fortune teller cards or something like that, which were in some ways similar to tarot decks. But if there were any tarot decks at all in the West before 1909, it would have probably been from people who imported them from Europe, and those would have probably been Marseille decks or maybe Oswald Wirth, if depending on the time period, But anyways, the point is that they would have been exceedingly rare. What was true, of course, was that there were a lot of people who did do kind of fortune telling, and most of the ones that did that with a regular deck of, like, a poker deck of playing cards, right? So this is a bit off in terms of historical accuracy. As for Ouija boards, well, the Ouija board depends on when it was created, right? But before there was a real, like, what we think of as the Ouija board today, which is like, I don't remember if it's Parker Brothers or who makes it, but it's like literally made by a game company. Before that, you had lots of people, because spiritualism was very big, that were using essentially a talking board, right? That were using they would usually create it themselves, right? A flat board that had letters and numbers and sometimes symbols or signs or yes or no or whatever on it, right? And then they would either use a planchette or a pendulum to try to determine the answers of what from the spirit they were talking to, right? And then quartz crystals. Crystals were, at this time, I'm not too sure how much, like, quartz crystals were not typically seen. They certainly weren't seen as the way that the modern New Age movement sees them, right? Where there's like a different crystal does different things. Oh, this one heals your heart, and this other one gives you protection from evil. Like, that wasn't how it worked, right? Like, now there were some shamanic tribes that made use of crystals, usually for a type of healing practices, right? And there were, of course, things like scrying crystals or crystal balls that people used to give to assist them in the process of having visions. Right. In any case, these are quibbles, right? They're historical quibbles, but I still think this is a great section. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. Then we get to like Shaolin Kung Fu, right? Which is great because, of course, there was Kung Fu happening in the West. We don't know exactly how much, but undoubtedly there were when all the rush of Chinese migrants came to the West, some of them would have known Kung Fu. Okay, and unfortunately, we don't know just how much. The method that is used in this system, where basically you are practicing different Daolu, which are like meditative movement exercise, and then this gives you temporary benefits. It seems okay to me. Like it's all right. I think obviously, in theory, somebody could do like a whole, wretched kung fu in the West, right? like the old TV series. And like vastly expand that, but it's a good start. Then we have shamanism, 4 sacred medicines. You will note tobacco symbolizes harmony and peace. When smoked through a peace pipe and shared with others, it gives you a bonus to persuasion. When used during sweat lodge, you get +2 to divination. Tobacco was was really like one of the most important sacred herbs in the among a large section of the Indian peoples of North America. Mainly, I guess, because there was an absence of other smokables that were healthy to induce without having negative side effects. I certainly find that that I'm better at persuasion and divination when I'm smoking my pipe. So there we are. Then he's got, besides the 4 sacred medicines, he's got, I knew there was a page there, shamanistic rituals. So you got a ritual for the medicine bag. That's really cool. And it's, the medicine bag is an item that contains kind of all the essence of your spiritual identity, right? And it gives you great powers and something, it's got practical elements to it, that it has some magic items in it, basically. It's a very important part of a lot of Native American mysticism. Smudging, obviously, too, but smudging is pretty perfunctory, right? Like, I don't know how, like, the suggestion that smudging would heal hit point damage, I'm not too sure about that. I think that it could be used to exercise or to cure disease, but it's a bit of a jump because, I think a lot of people, I know I've been smudged many times and it's never healed any of my wounds. But anyway, the ghost dance, this is another thing. The ghost dance is something that only came about very late. Like, we're talking about the late 1890s, right? Or the mid 1890s. I don't remember, but in the 1890s and up, right? Because it was a reaction to the devastation of the Indian peoples, right? And it was like a kind of last apocalyptic cult movement among a variety of Indians who believed that they were going to be able to bring back the buffalo and restore the nations, like their nations, right, against the power of the white man. So this is something that I think that the description of it is all right. I'm not an expert, mind you, but I think it's all right. The ghost shirts, yeah. But it could have been noted. Like, one of the things about making stuff more authentic is to say, well, this only happened in this period, right? Like, it's not something that the ghost dance is not an ancient ritual. It was a ritual that got invented after basically all the Indian tribes had been beaten into submission, right? Summon the deer woman, sweat lodge. A person could also be putting in, like, because some of these things are things that happen over various tribes, without a doubt. But then some of them you could probably state like what range of tribes at least are doing it, right? I'm not saying any of this is a criticism of what's going on in the content. The content is all very good, as far as I can tell. Again, I'm not an expert on specific Native American religion. But it looked pretty good to me. Steampunk, Tinkerers, and Mad Science. I was not tremendous. I seem to remember that I wasn't super impressed with whatever version of that they had in the Wretched verse. I don't even remember if it was from Wretched Country or another book. But I mean, I thought it was okay, but not great. I think, if I'm remembering right. But as for this one, it's again, you're going through a series of steps to determine abilities and complexities, material components. You have to do acquisition rolls because, I guess, in Wretched Verse, in a lot of the Wretched Verse books, at least, they make you do like wealth checks rather than keeping track of every penny or something, which is fine, makes sense. And then you get like lists of materials that you might need to get, and then going into the construction, you have to figure out what skills are necessary. And it's always very tricky when you're doing a steampunk type game to figure out something like, okay, on the one side, if you do it too strict, then you can't really build anything of use. On the other side, if you do it too lax, then people are going to abuse those rules and make like completely broken items. Which is why I don't really like playing steampunk at all, to be honest. I don't like any game where you have like these artificers, because they tend to end up causing more trouble than they're worth, honestly. I think that these rules, as listed here, they're still kind of vague, and they don't, like, it still leaves off, like, I mean, it shows a rocket ship here, but it doesn't tell you, what would you need to make this rocket ship, this Victorian rocket ship, and how complicated would that be, right? So, I don't know. It's kind of tricky. I don't think that's the best section of the book. So far, all the stuff on religion and spirituality is really quite good. Spiritualist class is it makes total sense to have a spiritualist class, because this was the peak, the 1870s to around 1910 or so were the peak period of spiritualism in both Europe and America. It got a little bit later to America, obviously, because it always would. But yeah, it's a perfect idea to have this kind of like the psychic spiritualist class. And I think that it's pretty good. It does a good job of what the spiritualist was supposed to be doing, and then like advanced stuff, telepathy, telekinesis, manifest ectoplasm, spirit guides, pyrokinesis, reincarnation, which could cause you to reincarnate fully, or could cause you to reincarnate as a ghoul or as a zombie. That's excellent. I like that. That's cool. The Bestiary. Now, I think the Bestiary is like maybe the most significant part of the book. I suspect it was part of the first thing that Lord Matt wanted to have for like in the book. I think that the other stuff that we've seen so far is stuff that he then added on because he also thought it was cool. So here you have a significant number of monsters, like the Aglebemu, which come out of Native American legends, and you can tell that Lord Mateus has done very good research on each of these creatures. Aniye, a giant man-eating skunk monster. Abudamkin. Good illustrations too, like I like them quite a bit. The Deer Woman, that one's pretty famous, but even there, not that many people know about it. I suspect most of these are stuff that you were not going to find in any other monster manual. I don't know, maybe. No, I don't even think you'd find them in Mystica or something like that. So just if you're looking for like interesting monsters, and just kind of like what I said with my my latest issue of the Pundit Files, right? When you start looking at like the mythology of other cultures, you get some really strange, cool stuff, right? And usually that stuff is not stuff that is going to be repetitive of, it's not going to be like, oh, this is like an owl bear or something, it's going to be something else. It's going to be something weird, and that makes it exciting. And you can see that there's quite a lot of these creatures listed on here, including with like everything about them and what they do and so on and so forth. The Thunderbird, Two-Face, vampires, vampire cowboys. You could always have a vampire cowboy, why not? Wendigo. And then there's some European folklore creatures. Albasti, Asena, Baba Yaga. You can get Baba Yaga in Baptism of Fire, mind you. Bukovac, Cacus. Would have been interesting if he'd stated, because some of these I know, and some of these I do not. And it would have been interesting if Lord Mateus had stated which European culture these guys come from, like each one of them, right? So Duende, that is obviously from Hispanic, Iberian, right? But I'm not sure about the Quigle. Sounds like it would be, but I've never heard of it. Obviously the golem. It's a ritual for creating a golem. You've got the Gorgon, the Lambton worm. Now some of these make sense to have here because they could have been things that followed humanity to the New World, especially with certain immigrant cultures. That's how I would have done it. I would have actually organized this entire section of the European ones by immigrant community, right? Like, so these are the German monsters, right? You'll find them in Germantown, right? Or thereabouts. And then these are the Norwegian monsters. They've gone and settled the Great Plains of Minnesota, stuff like that. And then the Latino monsters, so on and so forth, right? I think that would have been maybe a better way to organize it. There's no question the monsters though are really cool, right? So if you want to, it's just how it was ordered that I think could have been better because it could have allowed you to group them by cultural background, some NPCs, and then that's basically it, right? I think this is a great little product. If you're running Wretched Country, obviously, if you run any other type of Wild West game, especially if it's OSR, obviously you should pick it up. And I think that if you don't, you could still use a lot of the monsters in here for any OSR game. And you could also use possibly some of the items and the character classes and things like that if you're ever running any kind of game that is kind of in the Victorian era, right? So I strongly recommend Wretched Folklore. I like it a lot. I love it when other people, even though technically it's my direct competition, right? But I love it when other people do historical research and, on mythology, on folklore, on legends, on all that sort of thing, and then make their own stuff in that vein, right? Because in a way, as much as, that is sort of competing with the Old School Companion 3, which you should also buy, right? But it's got tons of magic stuff, tons of some various new monsters. It's really enormous, right? So you should totally pick it up too, right? It's got all look at how many magical systems there are, alternate magical systems for OSR. Medieval life, medieval cities, and a medieval bestiary at the bottom there, okay? So you should totally pick it up. But having this being made, I think is a sign of there being a wider interest in it, right? Because if I was the only guy who was making stuff like this, then I would have a bit of doubts as to is this a genre, right? Like, are people actually interested in it? But now there have been several other people who have been making supplements, source books, whatever, OSR stuff, sometimes non-OSR stuff, that is in the same vein of attempting to look at kind of this historical authenticity, right? And so that makes me very happy. And I hope that you will definitely pick up this book and this book and that book and that book and the RPG Pundit files, the latest issue of the Pundit Files, which is only on PDF, only at the Red Room, and only $3.50. I'm pretty sure this is also only at the Red Room right now, because even association to the Red Room means that they can't publish it in drive-through. So I think you'll have to go there to check it out. The link will be in the description of this video, and you'll be able to go and find Wretched Folklore in the Red Room store. And while you're there, check out all the Pundit Files in the Red Room store. Like I said, the latest one is about a collection of, again, a folklore collection of Chinese monsters from the Sung Dynasty sort of period. And then I've got a lot of other stuff. Star Adventurer is not at the Red Room, but the Pundit Files issues that have been detailing my new setting for Star Adventure called Sons of Heaven are all at the Red Room, and the one right before the current issue of Pundit Files was one of those. They continue to be developed. I'm going to be coming out pretty soon with one that is going to basically cover all of the galaxy, right? It's going to be like a galactic overview of all the races and their cultures. So that's coming up shortly. All right, and I guess that's everything for today. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you like reviews, especially, please share this review everywhere. Hit the like button, and check out my playlist of reviews, right? Which has got a ton of reviews, and it's only a drop in the bucket of what I had for like two different blogs over 15 years. I've honestly, I'm pretty sure I've reviewed more than 1,000 RPG products. And that probably makes me one of the most prolific reviewers of RPG history, right? So you can, but even if you don't want to go back into my blogs, which I understand, check out the playlist if you want to see other interesting reviews. And just try to share the video, because reviews never make quite as many views as when I'm like ranting about Critical Role or Wizards of the Coast or stuff like that. So if you like the reviews, try to help out in promoting them if you don't mind. And I guess that's everything for today. Currently smoking, this is a Maestro de Paya bent apple with Argento root.